to ask me about
Okay.
Matthew 24:34? Is that what you want to ask me? 34 to 36? This generation shall not pass until all things are fulfilled. Is that what you want to ask me?
Yes.
And what about it?
What liberal scholars like Albert Schweitzer talk about? They try to say that Jesus thought the end of the world was going to be in his time.
And why should I care what Albert Schweitzer thinks?
You shouldn't, but I'm just saying who's making the claim. That's all.
A lot of people make a lot of claims, right? So the point is, what's the proof? Number one, the assumption is that when Jesus said, this generation shall not pass, it's talking about his second coming, where he will return from heaven and establish his kingdom on earth, and he descends physically, bodily, for all to see. If you actually read Matthew 24 very carefully and not simply take verses out of statement, the entire discourse focuses primarily on what? If you start from Matthew 23:37 all the way 39, and then you go into Matthew 24, what is Jesus addressing at the start of the chapter?
At the start of Matthew 23?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Matthew 23:37 and 39, read that.
Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone these.
You're reading too fast, like if you're trying to get to Mecca.
Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate, for I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Now pause right there before you go on. He goes, your house will be left desolate. What house is he talking about?
I don't know.
The temple in Jerusalem. What other house was there in Jerusalem?
Oh, so he's talking about the destruction of the temple?
Yes. And notice what he says. You will never see me again unless you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So my question before we move on, did they say as a nation, blessed is he, Jesus, who comes in the name of the Lord, or they continue to reject him? Who does he say must say this for them to see him again?
The Jews?
Okay, read it again.
Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you are not willing.
Who's not willing?
Jerusalem.
You got it. So Jerusalem. And then he says, go on.
Look, your house is left to you desolate. Oh, okay. So it's talking about the temple.
Yeah, because who's he addressing? Jerusalem. By Jerusalem, he's referring to the religious authorities, those who control Jerusalem, the religious establishment, the priests, the Pharisees, the scribes, Sanhedrin, right?
Right.
Okay, so what does he say to them? You will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So did they ever say that, or did they continue to reject him?
They continued to reject him until the temple was destroyed.
That's why they didn't see him again.
Okay, so he's not actually talking about like the end times in this part. He's just talking about.
Now continue reading though into chapter 24,
okay.
Slowly. Keep reading to 24.
Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings.
So what? Called his attention to the building in Jerusalem, the temple and the buildings, right?
Right. Okay. Do you see all these things? He asked. Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down.
Keep reading.
As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming?
Okay, now that's the context. Okay, now that's the context. The sign of your coming and the end of the age. Now, when he says end of the age, what age are they referring to? Are they referring to the end of time as we know it, ushering a new heaven, or he's talking about the end of the Old Testament era?
Oh, okay, I see. So they're talking about when he's going to rise from the dead and the old covenant will be...
Not only rise from, no. What did he just say? Not one temple, not one, yeah. What? Read it again, not one.
Not one stone here will be left on another.
So what are they asking him?
About the destruction of the temple.
So yeah, what is the sign of you coming to destroy the temple, which signifies the end of this era, the end of the Old Testament age, the end of the Old Testament era?
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So did that generation pass away, or did that generation see the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple?
That generation saw the destruction of the temple.
So where is the false prophecy?
There is none.
That's right, because the mistaken assumption is that when Jesus says the Son of Man coming, that means a physical bodily coming where we see it. No, oftentimes Old and New Testament will use the language of God coming to destroy a nation without you seeing God visibly to do so.
Oh, okay. So there's no false prophecy because he wasn't even talking about the end times.
Not the end times, the end of the age of Jerusalem.
Right. Yeah, I was saying he's not talking about the end times. He's talking about the end of the age of Jerusalem.
Let me show you where. Let me show you where you'll find passages of God coming to destroy a nation without that meaning coming visibly where you see him. Go to Isaiah 19 verse 1.
I'm there.
Read it for me.
See, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and is coming to Egypt. The idols of Egypt tremble before him, and the hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear.
Read verse 1 one more time slowly.
See, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and is coming to Egypt. The idols of Egypt tremble before him, and the hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear.
This is talking about the Lord bringing judgment in Egypt, but did he ever come physically, bodily, or visibly to do that?
I actually don't know. I'm not going to say.
No, he didn't. Historically, you won't hear the Egyptians saying, and the God of Israel showed up visibly during the time of Isaiah or even centuries after that, even at the time of Christ to do, because it's not talking necessarily of God appearing visibly. But when a nation is destroyed because of its wickedness, that's a sign that God has come in judgment. Okay.
So
you with me so far?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily always talking about something physically happening, right?
No, it means
trying to say?
Coming to judge a nation. So how do we know God came? Because we see the effects. We see Jerusalem destroyed. That means Jesus came to judge it.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense.
So when Jerusalem was destroyed and the temple was destroyed, that was the sign that the apostles asked. What is the sign? The sign that I've come to destroy Jerusalem is when you see Jerusalem and the temple destroyed by the Romans. Did that happen?
Yes.
And that was the sign Jesus came in the clouds of heaven to destroy Jerusalem and the temple.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now go to Revelation 3, verses 1 to 3 to show you another example.
Revelation 1?
Chapter 3, verses 1 to 3.
Okay.
Read it for me.
To the angel of the church in Sardis write, these are the words of him who holds the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. I know your deeds. You have a reputation of being alive, but you are dead.
Keep reading all the way to 3.
Wake up, strengthen what remains and is about to die, for I have found your deeds unfinished in the sight of God, of my God. Remember therefore what you have received and heard. Hold it fast and repent. But if you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you do not know what time I will come to you. Okay, now Jesus warns this church at Sardis, if you don't repent, I will come against you like a thief and remove you. Now, that church has been removed. That means Jesus came and removed it, right? Mm-hmm.
But did he come physically to do that? Did anyone see Jesus come down physically?
No.
You got it now?
Okay, so this is basically, it's when a prophecy can essentially be fulfilled in Revelation, but not the whole thing.
Yes, because those churches have been removed, because he's also threatening those churches, 5 of which are dishonoring the Lord. He says, if you keep it up, you will no longer be a lamp before me. I will remove you. And that has happened historically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so there's nothing in Matthew 24, 34, 36, specifically 34, that says this is referring to Jesus returning physically, bodily to establish his kingdom on earth. The context, guys, why did you block love and forgiven? Love and forgiven is asking a genuine question. I don't get it. Prophet Google, take it easy, buddy. I know you're sleep deprived. The guy was asking a legit question. There's nothing in the context that's talking about Jesus's physical bodily return. It's talking about Jesus coming to destroy Jerusalem and the temple because of the Jewish religious establishment's rejection of him.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's why, what happened afterwards? Now, let me show you the fulfillment of this passage. Go down to Matthew 24, 29 to 31.
Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be
Now,
shaken.
when it says stars fall from the sky, heavenly bodies, people who do not understand biblical language are assuming astral objects. No, stars and heavenly bodies can also refer to principalities, dominions, and powers in the heavenly realm, satanic powers that will now be disarmed and destroyed.
Mhm.
You with me there?
Yeah.
Okay, so keep reading.
Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Sign of Son of Man. Now, go ahead.
And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other.
Oh, see, that clearly means his physical return to the earth. No. Now, let me break that down. He says, when this happens, then the angels will be sent out to all four corners of the earth to gather the elect to Jesus, right?
Yeah.
That's what you just read, 31, right?
Yep.
Okay, but let me tell you something. Did you know the word angel doesn't mean necessarily a spirit creature? It can also refer to a human agent, a human messenger. A human messenger. And you want proof of it in Matthew 11:10, the prophecy about John the Baptist, where God says, see, I send my messenger ahead of you. The Greek word is angel, and there it's referring to John the Baptist. What kind of angel was John the Baptist?
Human.
Exactly. So when Jesus says, I'm going to send angels, it doesn't mean spirit creatures. It means I'm then going to send my human angels to then preach the gospel all over the world to gather my elect by the preaching of the gospel. That's exactly what happened. The gospel has been advancing to the four winds of the earth from that moment till now.
Okay, that makes sense. So none of this is about the end times. It's about the preaching of the gospel to
It
the
means
whole world.
when Jerusalem is destroyed, that ushers in the church age. And that church age will be proclaimed by his human angels throughout the four winds to gather all of them to Jesus by the proclamation of the gospel.
Makes sense.